Why don't we kick this off? So, quick sound check. Audio is visual working and sound working. Could I get a thumbs up? Someone in the chat, let me know. Okay, thank you. All right, so today we're going to be focusing on 5 crucial shifts in K12 schools driving the future of Finalsite. So my name is John Moser. I know a lot of you that are on here today. Thank you for coming. I'm the CEO at Finalsite, and this past year we crossed over 100 countries that we serve schools in now. We are excited where we are at as a company, and we hope that after this presentation, our schools that are working with us and some of you that are not will be really excited about what we are doing and where we are going as a company. So I wanted to start out. One of the things we're going to talk about today is empathy. And I think everyone knows this past year has been a little more complex than we would like. So I've been doing personally, I like to read different things on what leadership and communication folks have to think about this year when we're talking to our audience. One is, I think we have to listen a little more this year. We have to be motivational to the people that are around us. Everyone has that little blue streak on what's with the pandemic going on, but as leaders and communication leaders, we have to be positive and we have to help our constituents through this. The next one is, we have to attack the hurricanes. We have to attack those areas that we need to fix and make better for our group this year. We can't just let things sit. We're in a time where if we wait too long to get things right, things could change too much around us. And then my last tip as we get started here, as we think about empathy, is self-compassion. Making sure we keep everything real that we work with. And remember that there are people suffering all over the world right now, from teachers to students to all of us that are working on what's going on. So let's just have a little more compassion and listen. And in that vein, as we thought about, we came out of last year and we're like, you know what, our schools have used Finalsite more than ever before. We wanted to make sure our schools could put up a good amount of new video and many, many photos that are needed to help our schools grow and communicate. So this is something we shared out this year. So let's talk about what we're going to go over today. We're going to talk about emotional intelligence, why virtual learning is here and it's going to stay. We'll talk about your website, how it can help engagement, transparency, and how it helps build trust, security, and privacy. Really important. And then at the end, we'll talk about some bonus things that we can think about as we go forward. So let's start with emotional intelligence and how crucial it is during this time. Sorry you have to look at a picture of me, but this is from Finalsite U in March of 2020. Our main topic was emotional intelligence. And I think going through the past 9 months, all of us in communications and whatever role we had to play, we have to be really smart, and we had to be really smart on what we communicate and how we communicate. Did you know that 90 to 95% of decisions are made by emotion? Okay, so we're not using data to make all our decisions. So if decisions are made by emotion, can't we say emotions have been up and down this past year? So how can we think about this when we're communicating with our schools? So let's be careful of our wording, and let's be smart about our tone, in person and online. We have to be thoughtful of things that we're going through. Be aware of the needs and concerns of your staff and others. Don't make promises or commitments you can't keep. It's all about execution. Let's make sure we walk the walk. Let's make sure we're leading by example as we go into the changes that are coming. Just a little highlight here, Richfield Public Schools. During COVID, they did an amazing job with a hub to communicate in a great way. They made sure their families had the information they needed. They listened and they communicated and made it a central place where people can go. And they were very thoughtful of how they interacted with their families, how they interacted with their staff, and everyone around there. And our team, we interacted together. So it was a great story. Let's talk about virtual learning. So 71% of parents say technology and teaching and learning technology for teaching and learning has become more important to them as a result of COVID-19, cited by Blackbaud. Okay, so one thing we know that happened is parents truly got a clear look at what's being taught in schools, how it's being taught, and the roles that people are playing. Can we all say parents' expectations have gone up? So how do we, as school leaders, how do we communicate? How do we meet, and what's staying? So why virtual? Why should we think like virtual is going to be here, and how do we think about this? So we have a lot of schools, Hebron Academy, for example. They reach families early on and more often. They really said, hey, we're going to make sure our virtual admission. So if you're an independent school, charter school, international school, where you're focused on admissions, we want to make sure that they could communicate with their families in a virtual way and see their school. We'll get into that more as we go through this. Add flexibility how they teach students. Provide more options to families. So families had more decisions that they could make. Even though Hebron's a boarding school, they had flexibility to make sure the students could stay connected and keep it going, and help get them to campus and make sure they had the schedules and the way they communicate. I just encourage you to look at Hebron Academy's site. It will tell the story that's needed. During COVID, we doubled down. We basically said, hey, let's pull the schools together from around the world, and let's share what's happening in Thailand and in China and in Italy and the UK to our US schools. We were really early on starting this. A lot of you I see here were on these webinars. And we were really working with schools that were ahead of schools in the US by, let's say, 10 weeks in some cases. So what we did is we created these digital assets: virtual open house, virtual campus tour, Why My School, hybrid learning showcases. We basically created these tools and said, hey, any of Finalsite clients that want to plug this into your site, within 2 to 3 weeks, we could plug in one of these campus assets. And the schools that deployed this stuff had a much higher rating from their parents in success rate than those that tried to send out many, many emails going home. So with this, you can plug in galas. We have schools that rolled out the online gala, and they actually made more money doing an online gala than they did the in-person gala, but they were able to plug this into their site. Well, anyways, we have all these assets that are available for you to plug into your site as you go into this next year. Let's look at a few of these. So some of our schools, this school here, Sandy Springs Friends School, they hosted multiple virtual admissions events on Composer, and they were cloning stuff and moving it to the next level. They plan to keep these events no matter what happens in the future. Their attendance rate was at 68%. Videos were being watched in an amazing way. So they really did a great job turning their school more into a virtual environment. Virtual graduation this past year was amazing. A lot of these schools that work with us got the virtual graduation asset, plugged it into their site. And most of the schools that did this, they are going to keep this whether COVID is here or not. And right now we're like, let's not think about graduation. But it's something, if you plan ahead, you can have this all in place as you get to that environment. But the communication and the feedback we got from schools that ran this, parents and students were highlighted. It was absolutely a beautiful thing, considering everything we were all going through in May and June and July of last year. As we get into this more, a lot of schools rolled out like why your school, and They're doing live streaming right through our graduation app so they can see it. Distance learning hubs where you could come in, whether it's on the phone where your site condenses down in a responsive way where you could get all of this content in one area. Ellington Public Schools, they had live streaming working. We have Finalsite streaming. We have a lot of schools that deployed streaming this year because a lot of parents couldn't even go to the basketball games or the chapel, wherever it was. And a lot of schools had some of their kids at home, some of them at school. So you're able to embed these players in your page. You can make them public or private. And this has been a really helpful way. And again, these are just bonuses to the school, whether you're in COVID times or not. This is something that will stick the test of time. So let's talk about websites and how it can help engagement at your school. All right. So one thing we're lucky with at Finalsite, we have schools all over the world. We get tons of stats. So what we found is during COVID and as we were going back to school in 2020, best virtual school was like one of the highest search terms, independent schools in a lot of areas. So we found that there was a lot of searching going on. So how do schools think about this? So number one, a school's website is the number one deciding factor in a parent's decision to apply to your school. Millennials who are applying at the younger years, they're looking at ratings, right? They're looking at stuff around your website. What does it look like? How do they communicate? Who are the teachers? And they're going on your website and looking what's going on there. Teachers also are making choices. There is absolutely a shortage of teachers. During the pandemic, 1 in 3 teachers made it likely like they were going to retire. Of 18% of public and private school teachers are over the age of 65. Superintendents and heads of school, 61% are having trouble finding. And they don't understand the new teachers coming in to their schools. If you're thinking about hiring, how are most teachers? They're doing their research before they even get to your school. You need to make sure that you have your best foot forward. So let's talk about design a little bit. So what's the benefits of great design? So these are things that are proven. One, it builds trust and confidence, and it helps a community come together and have pride in what they do. It can increase engagement. Engagement is super important. The more people you have coming back to your site, the more parents you have logging into your portals, the better you're communicating. That helps. Signups for open houses, for example, in fully responsive websites. It's amazing. During COVID or before COVID, a lot of the traffic to your websites was mobile phones. It was actually breaking 50%. It was almost closer to 60%. During COVID, because a lot of people went back to their laptops, it dropped back a little bit, and we're going to see the trend push back to mobile. But we need to be smart in how we design our mobile sites and what we put on those. We need to make life easier, how they navigate, how do they get to where they go. Accessibility, let's make sure all users can view your content. And let's create emotion in the website. Let's make it so a student or a parent goes to the website and says, I want my kid to go there. Or an alum goes back to your site and says, that is amazing. Or it's a public school student going back and looking at the sports scores and some of the history that's at the school, or they're going back to the foundation that's been created. So let's talk about pre-designed stuff and custom designs. So in this past year, in 2020, we rolled out over 360 designs. We have won 41 awards, and we are super excited about some of the new technology that we're thinking about in designs. So you might be a school that's like, hey, we're struggling right now. We got to keep enrollment up, but we definitely need to do something. John, I agree with you. We have to make our designs better, but what about the budget? So we have put together theme designs that look good. They're not custom. They're not as tight. But theme designs can get you there. So I would talk to your client success manager about this and look at the option of rolling this out. And there's ways to tie this into your subscription. So please talk to your client success manager. But let's take a closer look at, this would be more of a custom design. And I'm going to click here and show you a before. So a lot of sites, like if we went into and did an audit, we'd look at it and go like, all right, if I'm an end user clicking around, it's a little hard to find the stuff I want. It's complex. The navigation, when I click down, there's too many clicks. The mobile environment sometimes isn't where we want it to be. It doesn't reflect the warm feeling. It doesn't bring forth the vibrancy of a school. And it's sometimes the site is more focused on internal use than it is on like how you communicate and work with your parents. So this is before and this is after of stuff. This is United World College over in Singapore. They really focused on how we can make it look good, looked at navigation and mobile focus. I thought I'd just click over to this quick. So very clean with hero drop downs and images. You can see here's your call to action, your most important things, right? Log in for current families, apply online for potential students, giving for alums, and careers for prospective teachers or faculty. Then you have your campuses. And when I click on a campus, it blows it out. It gives me more information about that specific campus. But you can click down and each one of these, if I clicked on admissions, you can see the depth when you get to these sites, that the landing pages on these sites are in really good order and they're clean and they tell a story about what's needed, everything about the school, and still you can get your information very clean. Navigation is simple and you can see where there's sub fees and sub information down below. Okay, let's keep going here. So let's think about the future and thinking about, hey, if I was going to do a design, John, what should I be thinking about? Like, what are you guys going to do in 2021? What's going to make me like get my leadership to do a custom design this year? I really encourage schools to go about this and make your school look really special. There's so many points that will make prospective families, community, engagement, decision-making, and especially after the year we've just been through, I think it's really important that we do a good job. And we think about like, what are our heroes, unique heroes, our immersive motions? Like, how are we going to use motion in the website? How we're going to tie those images together? Like we are looking at United World College. What about our color schemes? Could we, one thing we did purposefully when we just did our new brand, we wanted to be vibrant and alive and push itself out in a crowd. Make sure the visuals are rich and detailed. Make sure there's a goal-driven design. So when you're designing stuff, it has purpose. I've always been one to really talk about functional design, to make sure you're using the function of your software, to make sure you can put stuff in, because you can always change images out on your site. But let's make sure it functions well and the navigation structure is smart and it works beautifully on a mobile device. So when your families come in, they can get to the information that they need to in a very easy way. And this is the big one. So I don't know if you remember, if we go back and we think about user experience. Back, I think it was like 5 years ago, maybe it was less, Google came out and said, if your site is not mobile, we are going to lower you in search engine rankings. And if you were a school that really counted on being up in the rankings, one, to keep your enrollment up, for families that would find you moving into town, whatever it would be, it was imperative that you had a responsive website or you would drop down in the rankings. Google just came out and said later this year that if your site and your design and your navigation isn't up to date and clean, they're going to push you down in the search engines. Okay? Meaning, if you do this, if you do a redesign, and you lay out your site and you have the tags right and you have everything in a good spot, you will stay up or you will move up in the search engine. Google is coming out and pressing the button again, moving the internet forward and web design forward. I just want everyone to take note of this. This could affect admissions next year, 2022, if you do not take movement on this. Okay, a beautiful website is great, but what if no one can find you? So let's just talk about top of the funnel and people finding your website. So 93% of online experiences begins with search. We're going to talk about Google in a minute, but most people are going to Google first and they're seeing stuff about you. We'll get to reputation of your school. 75% of all search clicks are in the top 3. If you are not in the top 3, you are missing out. 89% of consumers worldwide will read reviews before buying. They're going to Google and they're looking at your reviews as a school before they even click over to your website to hear about your story and what you're doing at your school. We have a team at Finalsite. It's Finalsite Consulting Services. They have hundreds and hundreds of schools that they manage digital advertising for. So if you're not showing up, you can do PPC and pay for it. We also help with social ads. Our team does. They work hand in hand with your team. We do optimization. We have a team that works with your website. We have a proven track record. Up here on the right, we have increased applications by 40% and new student enrollment increased by 37%, St. Thomas's School, by rolling through this and building this out. We help with marketing strategies. We help with social media management. We help analyze data. And this is really important here. This is not directly new, but we are really working with schools a lot closer to help them with a virtual webmaster. We have schools in Uganda and all over the world, and sometimes they can't get webmasters or they need help with marketing, or someone leaves the school and they're like, what do we do while we try to fill this position? We have people who can help you manage different parts of your site during crucial times at your school when you have issues. And it's very economical as you look into it. Let's talk about just maintaining your reputation. I talked about this before. But it's important that you stay in front of what is going on in the social world. What are people saying about your school, your brand, and your image? You have to be paying attention to this. So this is something we can help you with if you want. And also, look at your first page of Google when you type in your school name. Look what it looks like and look at the changes that need to be made, because this is where people are finding you before they even get to your website. This is the type of analysis that we think about for a successful website in 2021. Let's talk about transparency, and let's talk a little bit about how this pulls together. So I think about like enrollment, school to home communications, and how do we pull this in together? So authentic content and trust is what we want to build with our current families, with our staff at our school, and whoever we're communicating with. And the more we're transparent in how we communicate and what we communicate and where to take them, and the more they look at us as the experts, the better we're going to be. So look at this. 85% of people are likely to stick by an organization during a crisis if it has a history of transparency and being transparent. This is really important as we go forward and we look at the changes that are happening out there. Let's just talk about this here, for example. Communication, school to home. So a lot of you use our posts and our blogs, right? Awesome. We can blog on your website. We can send an email. We can see where it goes. This year, if you haven't updated, we have Facebook and Twitter. You can post now to your website and Facebook and Twitter and time it right in our interface. This is super important because it's all about saving time, right? Making it simpler for you. We started out like, how do we communicate? How do we keep the stress down? How do we have emotional intelligence in who we're talking to? And using technology like this will simplify what we do. So one thing I'm really excited about this year in 2021 Let's think of COPE. Create once, publish everywhere. So today we have like email, we have our mobile app, we have the ability to push stuff out, we have page pops on our site, but you're going to see coming in June, SMS and text, SMS, text, and voice come into the Finalsite platform. In the US, you'll be able to push that out. Internationally, we're going to tie into WhatsApp, and there's going to be more coming there, but we're really excited to make one clean interface that you can push out to your website, to the phone, a push message to your phone, a text, voice message, and to social, all in one area, one beautifully clean interface. And then you can tie in more marketing stuff, and I will get to that. Let's talk about this school. They have used our app in an amazing way. They've sent out 580K of notifications this year. Okay, they sent 3.6 million emails, and they tie it back, so they're using their app as one of those primary communication points. I really feel a responsive website is awesome, and you need one for prospective families or someone moving to your town, looking at your district site and looking at the content. But if you're a family at the school and you have families, you as a school need a mobile app. No question. Because now this is one of those layers that you can push messages out to, whether it's a COVID alert, whether it's a snow day, whether things are changing in your area for safety or whatever it would be. You're going to be able to use this technology to communicate. Timothy Christian School is using our app for COVID check-ins. So they have our app. You can go to the site. There's a form there. They fill it out, and it tracks right on, and it goes to their website, and it ties back to their mobile app. A lot of schools are paying double. They're getting apps that just do COVID stuff. You can do this all through Composer and your app in one area. You can go to their website and look what they did. It's really cool. Or you can contact support and they can share it out to you. But it's amazing what you can do with the technology in your hand. But again, I really feel going into 2021, and as we get finished this school year out and we go into next year, every school needs an app deployed. You need to be able to contact parents where they're at and on their phone more than ever before. Voice is important. We're going to have voice, which is great. But most people are not picking up the phone anymore. They're looking for that text message, that push that goes out to them. All right, let's keep going here. Security and privacy. This is something I think that's crucially important in the days that we live. We're going through where like privacy, parents are going to become more and more concerned about, hey, is my data safe? Who's reading my data? Is Facebook selling my data? They are. And a lot of people are not paying attention to this in the US. Over in Europe, they absolutely are. In certain states in the US, they're paying attention to this. But I think all of us as a whole, as a community and schools and communicators, we're going to have to think about privacy and security a lot higher than we do. Here's something we take responsibility for. We want to make sure your websites are safe. Every day, we get 4 million suspicious attacks and requests that we block going to your websites. If we break that down, every school is getting hit every day, a minimum of 1 to 10 times in a lot of cases. Someone trying to hack in, someone trying to do something. We have stuff in front of our sites that's working to protect your environment. We'll talk about this for a minute. So we have physical security in our organization. Security, we focus on cyber attacks. So when information's coming in, we identify it and we cancel out. We don't let it get through to your website. We're doing all this stuff to mitigate that. So we have systematic identity that's taking it down. Security controls to reduce the risk. So we're monitoring this continually. Finalsite employees, we're going through training all the time. We're always getting phishing emails. We're getting updated, our laptops, whatever it may be. We're focused on security. Privacy, we're doubling down, right? We want to take our role as data processors even more serious than we have in the past. We work with schools in Europe and all over, and they've been pressing GDPR upon us. So we use that as our baseline. The privacy of your data in our schools is paramount to us going forward. And we just want to give you the confidence that from the leadership level down, this is important to us. We host your sites in Google Cloud. Google has also really helped us moving there over the past year to help scale out our sites. So if you have like this amazing event going on, our sites, your sites automatically scale to the usage level. It's pretty phenomenal. Like, let's just say you ran virtual admissions in May or April, and all of a sudden you have 1,000, 10,000 people coming, whatever it would be. We know, and our sites like automatically scale based on the growth, and they expand and contract, which is awesome. In this past year, we served over 1 billion pages on all of our sites worldwide. 1 billion pages. Okay, so let's talk about simplifying here. I'm going to take my jacket off to finish this off to simplify a little bit. So let's roll our sleeves up. So 33% of our workers are at risk of experiencing burnout. So we need to figure out, like, everyone's working super hard. So let's look at what Woodward did. Woodward rolled out workflows to automate emails that go out. So they took our inbound marketing tool and created a bunch of automated emails. So when you fill something out, it automatically responds. So it made it so much easier. It cut so much time out of their day, rolling out workflows and putting that together. So what are workflows? How are people using them? So you set it up and you forget it. You get it working, you run your tests. So admission inquiries, fundraising campaigns, parent reminders. So think about it, you send out an email, someone clicks on something, they get another email, and you can take them down this path to get to a conclusion. We used to talk about inbound marketing, and I have had a lot of Finalsite use, but inbound marketing is something we say all schools need to be doing it. But now we don't talk, we're not like saying, oh, you need to do inbound marketing. If you're not doing this, if you're not doing workflows, your school is going to fall behind because other schools are automating all these processes. So it's really important that we move it forward. We rolled out new forms this year to make it easier for our schools. So schools are not using our forms tool enough. Donations and giving. It looks beautiful, conditional, you can do lots of things. What about surveys? People are going out and like using SurveyMonkey and paying for it. You don't have to. You can use our new survey tool to do inquiries, RSVPs, job application, just collecting payments, lunch menu orders, volunteer forms, you name it. It's simplified and it's beautiful, mobile optimized, easily condenses down to a single page. Let's look at new forms to workflows. So we're connecting our forms up. So when someone fills out a form, it connects and triggers stuff in your workflows to send it out. So subscribers using the forms can be connected. It creates constituents from the form submission and then updates constituent groups in your members and then branches out. So you can use this to answer stuff and submit stuff back to them. It's so helpful. The more you automate, it's going to just make your life easier. There's work up front. We have teams on our end. We have Finalsite Advantage that would be happy to work with your school to set this up, or we have tons of help information on how to do this. Data integration, we keep updating this stuff. We're adding more single sign-ons, but the whole idea is that you can have one master database and your data can automatically flow through to you from your SIS or your athletic data to calendars to your internal tools, so you have better directories and mailing lists and tying this stuff all together with better utilities. And then single sign-on, every school needs to have portals so they can get data privately to their parents or faculty, depending on what environments you're working with. And you can look at this list of a few of the options that we have, but most of those are schools that you guys work with, or I'm sorry, not schools, vendors that you currently work with. Let's talk about portals. You know, larger school districts, a lot of you have your own system you built to work with. But there's a lot of districts, a lot of independent schools, charter schools, international schools, independent schools in the UK that need to have places to log in for parents, faculty, students, and alums. And then once you're in, you can single sign on into portals of your SIS. So a lot of parents, they log in and then they can single sign on in to get to the grade book or different information. But this would give you one area that has more security and privacy that you can put information together. You can personalize content in here and build it together. If you haven't deployed portals yet, I would encourage this. In our CMS, one thing that's really come together well is there's been a lot of requests to do time publishing. So now you can schedule stuff going out. So you can pre-do events, make it come off at a certain time. You know, there's a lot of stuff that's timed out there. What happens if you can do it pre, instead of going in and putting a calendar event here? This stuff can automatically happen for you and push out and become easier as we're working together. All right. One area I thought was very important, this is a new feature we have. It's not directly new, but Finalsite local listings. So what this does is it's going to search the area around your school. It's going to search national or international areas where you get information from about your school. And it's constantly seeing what your information looks like. A lot of your local people who go to your school are looking at local listings. It could be Yelp, it could be Google business stuff, it could be where's the school, but there's tons of little places where your stuff is at. We actually now can search and figure out where that is, give you a ranking so you know, and you can have this system stay up to date with this. It happens automatically. It's a new feature that some of it's done manually, but most of it's done automatically. And we're going out checking these listings constantly to make sure that anyone who's looking for a school in your local area or a little bit outside, that they can find you and your data is up to date. Finalsite certifications. This is, I think, really important for all of you out there. So we have tons of Finalsite fans, which I'm super thankful for. And we are at a user conference at Google in the UK. And one of the questions that came up, they're like, hey, we really like Finalsite. Could you create a certification program? That's where this came from. It was our clients asking like, hey, if we get certified, we'll know the product better than most people. And then we can, when we go from school to school, help our pay. It'll help us get recruited better at other schools that we want to get into. And it's absolutely happening. We have lots of our schools contacting us. Hey, do you know anyone who? So this certification one helps you know our product in a wonderful way, but it also helps your personal job hunt. If you're looking for jobs, it helps your growth and your salary growth of where you're at. This is just something I encourage our clients to do. People who work on Finalsite out there, it's just a really good thing to have under your hat. A lot of you have already seen the Composer dashboard. Again, one of the reasons we put this together was to make it easier to find the information you need, especially software updates, but also really showing you so you have more of an ROI of like, how many pages are people going through? What's the last 30 days look like? How many posts are out there? How many resources are you using? How many messages were sent? But this really helps to quantify and almost give you an ROI as stuff is going around and how things are working out there. We have updated our login screen, so it's easier, simpler, and so we can communicate better with you as you're going through the tool. Again, if you want to follow us on any of the social platforms, feel free to do that. All right, we're getting to the end here. So what's coming in 2021? A lot of what I shared with you is coming in 2021. But forms integration with workflows, we're just buttoning that up. So you'll be able to connect those. Folders and messages for organizing mail and lists. We talked about the all-in-one communications. So this is really exciting to pull everything together. The website, your mobile app, texting, voice, everything in one area. And you can push this out to your environment as you need to. Mobile apps. we are actually adding an admin interface. It's been a big request. You're on the road, you want to post something, you know, it won't be everything, but it'll be enough that we've got feedback on. So you can use a mobile app to post stuff right to your website, and lots of other updates coming this year to our product set that people have been asking for and that we've been building out over time. And please, you know, as we've gone through this, if you've taken screenshots or snaps of any of this, please grab it and post it out on social. We love to share this stuff out and share what's going on at Finalsite as we go forward. So my last slide in closing is, if you want to be part of the early adopters to the all-in-one communication piece, we're going to be rolling people out before the end of Q2, so before the end of June. But we really would like some schools that are like, hey, we would love this to be early adopters or early adopters after June. We're looking for international schools, some charter schools, some districts, and some independent schools that want this, because we want to use you as kind of a lighthouse to get this kicked off, and show other people that you're using it and how you're using it. So please sign up here if you're interested. And then lastly, if you're interested in something I shared, you have questions, please connect with me on LinkedIn. You can contact me directly. You can contact me by my email, or if you're looking to like, hey, I want to do an audit, or I want to learn more about a specific module or one of your assets, contact your client success manager. They would be happy to help you, talk you through whatever you're looking for. So with that said, I want to thank everyone for coming today. We had great attendance, and I hope this is helpful to everyone as they're planning their year out. We're hoping to do this every year. Finalsite U's coming up. We'll be going into a lot of training, so please sign up for Finalsite U, and keep an eye on what's going on at Finalsite. We're really looking to help schools keep their funnel filled, communicate better school to home, and let's make sure we're good leaders out there for our community. And we will do our best to help lead you, our schools, as we go through all this. Whatever comes, we're going to be here to support you the best we can, and we always take the client first. So thank you, everyone, and have a good day.